Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of these situations where you just have to wonder how anyone would ever think that this was a good idea, right? This is just something that anyone with any level of common sense, I figure, would be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do this, right? Not a very great idea. Definitely not a effective form of parenting here now. So apparently the woman that did what we're about to take a look at here was a foster mother, which is even crazier because this wasn't even like actually her own birth child. She went out of her way to foster children who are in situations where they're in dire need of parents. You know, they could grow up orphans, they could grow up without a family. You know, maybe their parents were drug addicts or whatever and couldn't take care of their kids, and now these children in their new foster homes or whatever are looking for a family to take them in and care for them and do everything that they need to have a good and successful life. So this woman in a way kind of played on that advantage and did something so weird and disgusting. When I first saw the headline, I almost thought it was fake, right? I looked at it, I'm like, this is like AI generated or somebody's just making some shit up trying to be funny. Unfortunately, neither of those are the case. This is a real story here. So a 10-year-old Michigan boy died after his obese foster mom sat on him for 5 minutes for, quote, acting up, crushing him under her 340-pound frame. Jennifer Wilson told police young Dakota Stevens had fled from her home that morning and that he was misbehaving after she retrieved him from a neighbor's house. Wilson said the 91-pound boy threw himself on the front lawn outside her home, at which point she sat on him while calling his caseworker as he screamed and eventually stopped moving, according to court documents viewed by Express US. Now, there's a couple things already here that I want to go ahead and point out because a whole lot of this story just doesn't really make sense. Like, honestly, nothing about it actually makes any sense. But first off, let's point out here, the mother is 340 pounds, apparently. So this is not some small woman, right? This is not some even normal-sized person. This is a obese foster mom here, and I don't know, in her mind, I don't know if like spanking or whatever is illegal in Michigan, or she just thought that was too far. Apparently spanking your child or like taking away their video games or whatever, right, grounding them, those are not effective punishments. You have to sit on the child until he doesn't act up. I mean, who in their right mind is coming up with this shit, right? This is just insane. Now, one thing I really want to also kind of like point out here too, and this is one I think it's kind of going unsaid, I feel like, in articles like this. The story of why this kid was acting up really doesn't make any sense here, because she says that the young boy fled from her home that morning and she had to go and retrieve him from a neighbor's house. Now, I mean, I guess I'm making an assumption with this, but given the fact that she literally fucking killed her child disciplining him, quote unquote, I'm kind of like, I feel more comfortable making this assumption, but something about that sounds bad and kind of fishy as is, right? Because most of the time when I hear stories about like, oh, well, the kid ran away from home and the kid was found at a neighbor's house hiding or something like that, that usually insinuates there's some level of abuse or something crazy going on at home anyway, right? Children don't just like run from their fucking house and like go hide at the neighbors and have to be dragged home by their parents. That is not some massively common situation with kids who are in a normal situation. Like I said, anytime I've ever seen or heard anything like that, it's because the kids are like getting beat at home or they're dealing with some sort of like crazy abuse or something. So that makes me wonder if this was like a long going kind of pattern of issues with the mother here, where for whatever reason, whatever she was doing, this poor kid just did not feel safe in the house. Now, she decided apparently that the way to stop him or to punish him was to go out in the front lawn and just sit on the child in the yard. I don't know. I'm just trying to picture like how I would react to this. Like if I'm the neighbor and I hear like a kid screaming outside, I peek out the window real quick and his fat ass mom is out in the front yard sitting on his chest talking on the phone, right? Like, I don't know. Who comes up with this shit? You know what I mean? First off, you're doing this shit in front of the whole neighborhood, right? Like, you're not even trying to like hide the weird shit you're doing, sitting on children like it's some sort of fucking whoopee cushion kind of situation, right? You're doing this in front of everybody. And then to even think that that was appropriate in the first place here. The boy is 91 pounds. You're 350 fucking pounds, right? Gee, what did you think was gonna happen? I just can't imagine like what you thought thought was going to occur. Like, you were going to sit on this kid, everything was going to go well. He would finally, I don't know, wise up or whatever. Like, oh, he finally listened. She told cops she thought the boy was faking being hurt until she noticed his eyelids had gone pale when she rolled him over. A court affidavit described the foster mom as appearing, quote, visibly distraught when police arrived to find Dakota motionless and without a pulse. He was airlifted to a nearby hospital, but there was nothing doctors could do. The child was taken off life support 2 days later, just a month after he'd been placed in Wilson's custody. So this kid had only known her for a month. I wonder if that kind of contributed to him, like, not listening to her or whatever. I mean, these foster situations, they get complicated, right? Like, these kids, especially when they're a little bit older, they realize, like, oh, you're not my real parents or whatever, and they probably do get a little rebellious or, like, rambunctious or don't listen. I mean, these kids have some pretty deep-rooted problems a lot of the time. That's why they're in foster care. You got to understand that, though, when you're going into taking care of foster children. Like, you are taking in kids who come from rough backgrounds. They come from families that didn't want them, or maybe they were born addicted to drugs. We had foster families, like, in my old neighborhood growing up and whatnot, and we knew the foster kids or whatever, and some of these kids, man, they were born like halfway across the country to mothers addicted to like heroin and shit, you know what I mean? These kids have problems, they have things that you have to deal with, and when you're deciding, oh, I'm gonna be a foster parent, I'm gonna take these kids in, in a way, you're kind of taking in all of those problems that they already had, and you're volunteering to put that stuff aside to take care of this child in the best way that you physically can. And to do something like this, to not only betray that kid's trust, but to kill him in such a terrible way, right? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And once again, I don't even understand what she thought was gonna happen. I mean, I don't know. I figure when you're a kid, like, you put a rock on top of an anthill or something, you kind of see, well, gee, that thing that's really heavy weighing down on the thing that's not, that usually leads to something, right? I mean, for instance, let's go ahead and put a 4-story apartment complex down on this woman's chest, and let's see how this bitch feels about that, right? Now, the poor kid did apparently survive the initial whole situation. I can't even imagine, bro. That's such a terrible thing. When I first saw this, I was wondering, like, there's no way he, like, went away instantly. There's just no chance. Which means that, as you could see by the article, she was sitting on this kid on the phone with the caseworker. The child is, like, screaming underneath her and whatnot, and she apparently didn't think anything was wrong with that. Like, kid is screaming, he's in distress, obviously in pain and freaking the fuck out, right? And I guess she saw no problem with that shit. Let's continue the phone conversation. Oh, the child's screaming in the background? Yeah, he's outside playing, he's having fun. Like, I don't know. Everything that could have went wrong here went wrong, it seems like. It's nonsensical. So, disturbing ring camera footage unearthed by authorities reportedly shows a 20-second clip of Wilson sitting on his head and neck as she squeezed the life out of his tiny frame, his desperate screams gradually growing quiet. Once she realized what she'd done, Wilson frantically told one of the other children to call 911. She could be heard in the footage yelling the boy's name repeatedly as she noticed he'd stopped breathing. Wilson faces 6 years in prison if convicted. She was fostering 3 other children in her Berrien County home, but a Department of Child Services spokesman confirmed to the outlet that her foster parent license has been suspended and is being reviewed for permanent revocation. Okay, now this makes the whole story way more insane to me, because when I heard this, I was imagining she was like sitting on his chest or his stomach and like maybe he had suffocated in some way, right? But now this is just actually fucking wild. She was literally sitting on a child's head and neck. A 350-pound damn near woman sitting on a 10-year-old elementary school child's head and neck as an apparent punishment. I mean, once again, where the fuck do you conjure something like this up in your head? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what was about to happen. I mean, turns out your brain and like, breathing, not really in great positions when you've got 350 pounds on your head and neck. There was just no way that she could have thought that this was a normal way to react. I mean, I can't think of any parent I know, really, who would ever like sit here and tell me like, oh yeah, that's something I would do to my child. That's the right way to handle this whole situation. I mean, even at the bare minimum, if the kid had survived, you know what I mean? It's very childish. It's actually child abuse anyway, and it's still just fucking stupid. But the fact that it killed this kid, right? And the worst part about it, I think too, is the fact that she is apparently only facing 6 years in prison if she is convicted on this. Now, I get that it was technically an accident or whatever, if you could really call it that. She apparently didn't intend on killing the child, but this is one of those things where it's so stupid and it's such a fucking ridiculous thing to think that you should just face murder. I'm sorry. Like, you took this child in, a child who is innocent, can't protect himself. Obviously, you know, he's a foster child. You betray his trust. You critically injure him. He dies days later under your care. Actually, from a direct result of your actions, not even just under your care. You literally fucking kill this kid because you're too immature to wrangle this poor kid in. And so you sat on his fucking skull like he was a beanbag chair. And you only face 6 years in prison. Now, I'm not here to defend drug dealing and shit like that, but there's people who are literally in jail for longer in areas of this country for selling marijuana or like selling carts or something like that. There's people in jail longer for like fudging the numbers on their taxes, right? And I get it. These people committed crimes too. You know, they got to face the law, but the fact that what they did objectively hurt less people and didn't kill a child, and there's some of them spending longer in prison than this fucking wildebeest, like, you gotta be kidding me, man. That's actually fucking wild. So basically, the state of Michigan is saying you can gruesomely kill your foster child in a very inept, ridiculous way. And if you just say oopsie daisy enough, you only get 6 years in prison. I don't know. Part of that really just pisses me off, honestly. Like, it actually gets under my skin a little bit. I mean, that poor kid, right, 10 years old when he passes away. On average, you know, he had another, 60, 65 years of life left ahead of him for him to try and experience the great thing that is life, right? But that was tragically taken from him by some fucking lunatic foster mom. Okay, and he'll never get any of that time back, but somehow this woman only gets 6 years. Not even enough time to like actually match the child's fucking age that she killed. It's actually kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie, if I was the judge in this one, I would be doing whatever I could to try and fight those numbers up. Someone like this should not be out in general society ever. It doesn't matter if this was an accident or what. You're literally so fucking stupid and negligent that you killed a child with like an elementary school level of education, literally. Like, well, heavy things weigh down on smaller things, so maybe mommy shouldn't sit on my head. That's what you would think, right? But apparently not for Miss Wilson here. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because I saw this and I'm like, dude, this has to be fake. And then I open up the article and it's like, wow, man, there are people like this roaming society. Wow. Anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @subtooptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Well, just wishing this mom got more jail time and signing out.